to this episode of Lead the Machine podcast, where today's leaders and tomorrow's talk about the human side of AI at work. I'm your host, Kirsten Marr, and grateful to have Chloe Frantzis join us today to share her perspective. She is a recent college graduate, writer, and an emerging voice on AI and work. She's passionate about keeping human creativity at the forefront. Chloe didn't plan to enter the workforce in the middle of a technology revolution, but that's exactly what happened. Armed with degrees from Wellesley College and the University of Cambridge, and a background in literary analysis and storytelling, where she won multiple awards, Chloe originally set her sights on a writing career. But as generative AI began reshaping the creative job market, she had to quickly adapt. Now based in London, Chloe works at Box Media, a media tech company offering a platform to scale and monetize a wide array of content, including film and entertainment. She helps bridge creative content, digital platforms, and new storytelling formats. In particular, she ensures that content leveraging AI is driven by human vision and edited to keep original thinking and storytelling intact. Chloe's previous experience includes marketing roles at Hubbard Hall Inc. and Hungry Concrete, as well as public health outreach with Partners in Health during the pandemic. She's also held academic fellowships and led research across literature, media, and ethics. Chloe brings a grounded perspective to the impact of AI on early career professionals. She speaks candidly about navigating algorithmic hiring systems, staying creative in a data-driven world, and why her generation still believes original thinking matters. It's incredibly important that we hear this point of view and take it in. As leaders, we are all talking about how to adapt to our organizations in the age of AI. I know from talking to executives that this concern transcends generations and roles. It's as much of a leadership concern as it is from the emerging workforce. So, Chloe, welcome to Lead the Machine. I'm so pleased to have you share your experience and the ways it has already shaped your view of your career. Can you walk us through the realization you had after getting multiple degrees from prestigious colleges that you needed to pivot from your original career plan?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very appreciative of the invite. Yeah, I mean, it feels like ages ago, but it also feels like yesterday. I mean, I guess I'm technically now 1 month officially into, being part of the workforce, but I think, the stresses and uncertainties of, the kind of year and a half that I was looking for a job
Year and a half it took.
still looms heavy on my conscience, I would say. But yeah, basically, I finished up my undergrad at Wellesley College in 2023. I was already feeling like a little bit of a late bloomer, I would say, because I took a year off during the pandemic. Just because, that already felt like a huge disruptor to my learning. I wanted to use that year to give back to the community instead and work on contact tracing for the state of Massachusetts. And so I think I was already a little bit older at an all undergrad college. I was ready to, get out there. And, I was equipped with an English degree, which I thought was kind of, the like end all be all, get your foot in the door kind of degree. I think that was very much instilled in me by my family. My mother was a comparative literature major, and she's wildly successful, and always told me that it's helped her so well get her.
I was an English lit
Yeah,
major. Uh,
yeah,
and
exactly.
and while I did, and then I started running data analytics companies, so it's not a straight line, but
Well,
I'm a
okay,
fan.
yeah. My mother runs a chemical distributor company now. So, but that's what I thought. I was like, I want my English degree. I know it's kind of always going to be there in the back, like forming my kind of career journey, even if it wasn't like, an overt kind of Englishy profession that I went into.
Nice.
Um, and because of that, and because I also studied abroad at the University of Cambridge, I thought, you know what? Let's just study English a little bit more. I love it so much. I think it's so useful. When I applied to Cambridge for a master's, I really emphasized how I loved kind of the critical thinking, the quick writing skills, this kind of breadth of research you had to do and then distill in these, very, well-written and engaging pieces of writing. Like that's what I wrote about in my application at Cambridge about why I wanted to do a master's. And so after I finished up at Wellesley, I went back to the UK, did a master's in English for a year. I loved it. I graduated in 2024 in May. No, does that sound right? Yes, about May 2024, I finished up. I can't quite remember when I finished up now, but yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to find a job. Let's go. And it was terrible. Like I like the like all of summer, I would say the first 3 months, I was really hopeful about, being a writer. I was like, hey, I want to do journalism. Maybe I want to do like a high level kind of copywriting job or really fun kind of marketing work. First and foremost, I want to try and be a journalist. I want to try and work in publishing maybe or an editor, just anywhere I could like get as much exposure to reading and writing as possible because I loved it and I thought I've excelled at it for a while. So why not? This is something I can do. I've always been told I can do these things.
Mhm.
And I just, quickly realized after applying to like 50 jobs maybe the first summer, um, and not getting a single first round interview was like really demoralizing. And I think while I was doing all this applying, of course, I'm reading about in the news how AI is really coming to the, centerfold of, the career world and career market. Like you can't ignore it anymore. And I would definitely say my academic career was defined by ignoring AI. Like I never opened it. I remember when it came out, like the senior spring of my final year at Wellesley. And I was like, this is for other people. This is not for me. This is maybe for the computer scientists or the like,
Interesting.
economic students. I was like, it's not for me. And I did not give it another thought. Like I really didn't. Um,
Interesting.
but then, I was like, what do I do? And so I'd say my first exposure or first kind of use of AI was really helping me kind of try and write job applications from there. Like I would see that certain job descriptions I could tell maybe might have been like kind of AI written. And so I was like, okay, maybe I should use it as well. But it was still really tough. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't getting anywhere and I didn't really know how to use it.
Yeah.
But I was trying and not really
So
being,
I'm guessing in those 50 applications that you put in, not only did you not get an interview, you also probably didn't get a response unless it
oh
was
no,
nothing.
so many of them. And
So that
also,
has to be, really something to experience where you're putting yourself out there, you're brand new,
yeah,
right, to the work world, and basically the work world is like, ignore. So
yeah.
other than, which I think it would be great for you to talk a little bit more about using AI with your your resume writing, what else did you specifically do to make a pivot in your career search? Number one, and number two, maybe just talk a little bit about what this did to your confidence in finding your first big opportunity.
Gosh, it was really hard. And I think, oh, sorry, I was lucky in that I came from, like a circle of friends, and I came from like a history and background, um, where I was used to being pretty successful. And like if I worked hard, I was used to getting results. And this was the first time, I'm sure I'm not the only one to experience this. Not being successful and not getting results when I feel like the equation that I've built works perfectly. You work hard, you put in time, you do what you're good at, and you do what you love, and that should all equal success. And this is the first time that like equation didn't work out for me.
And,
And it was
and
really hard.
just to interject a little bit right there, not only did you work hard, you did what everyone in college tells you to do. Do
Exactly.
extracurriculars. You get, some, recognition for your work. Do some
Exactly.
internships, have some jobs. So when you say work hard, just to be a little more specific, like you didn't just show up to class and get good grades. You took
No.
advantage of it's, from
Yeah.
everything I've learned about you, from all these opportunities, with the promise that then that is going to stand out to an employer because they're going
Yeah.
to see, oh, not only did this young woman like go to school at these, amazing, institutions, but she did a lot extra. This shows what she could be as an employee of my company.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like probably did even a human see it, is probably
I
what you're
really
wondering.
I really wonder. And no, yeah, I really did do that. And again, the other thing about pursuing an English major, I wanted to have other, things in my tool belt to bolster that English career, to make it, speak louder. So I worked in admissions since the fall of my freshman year. That was a full-time role I did throughout college. And I know working in US college admissions is an impressive thing usually when people hear that or see that. And I also did an array of other kind of internships at startups and working on marketing and all these things. And yeah, so I thought those were going to help out. I'm sure a lot of people are impressive out there and have a lot of cool things going on, but yeah, I think it's a bit more demoralizing to like keep hitting that apply button when you wonder if, a human is even looking at the work that you put into applying and researching for this job.
Yeah. So when you were taking these other, steps to pivot your career search, realizing that AI is the one reading the resume and AI doesn't appreciate any of that, right? It's looking for words and phrases and,
I
it's looking for math
know.
because that's what
Yeah.
models do. They're math. And so it's hard to stand out in a world where math looks at you, right? And your career. So what else did you do to kind of stand out once you'd been at this for a summer, then 6 months and 9 months? Like what else did you try to do to um, you know, accentuate your career search?
Well, I've tried a variety of things. I mean, when I still was pretty gung-ho about being a writer, I tried to network. I tried to talk to other writers and journalists, which I feel like again is something I was, told to do.
Oh
And
yeah,
that
networking is yes.
networking, yeah, I feel like that's, and I felt like, okay, I'm personable. I don't mind being with strangers. Like, I'll do this. It'll be great. This will be my avenue. And I was lucky enough just through like messaging people on LinkedIn and using my network and whatever, I got to talk to people at a wide range of kind of publications from like, New York Times Style to Reuters to Tadler, to the Telegraph. So like spanning UK and US publications. And that was the first time I really heard, don't do this. Like, I really didn't get a single journalist really tell me that this is a career worth pursuing. I,
Wow.
it was kind of crazy. It was like, no one said, hey, yeah, this is awesome, do it. I think they either A, or were a little bit older and so had gotten their career going. And now we're seeing what younger, like early career journalists were going through, or they were those early career journalists and they're just absolutely kind of stagnated in their industry institution.
Wow.
So I think that was when I first was like, okay, I have to step back and reflect a little bit about what industry I want to make my first big leap into.
So as you thought about that, maybe share with us a couple of things. How did you first navigate that emotionally?
Yeah.
Because you built an entire, like path for this.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about like the emotion of that, and then talk about practically once you got over the emotions or at least acknowledge them, practically, then what did you do?
Yeah. Well, I will say my best friend, Annika, will probably never let me live this down. And she's probably going to tell this story at my wedding, which I'll be so mad at her for. But, she's my best friend like in the world. And the first time she ever saw me cry was because of AI, which I think is really funny now reflecting back on it. But yeah, I literally just like, I think it was like, yeah, August, September. And I just tried, I was doing some kind of like freelance writing, whatever. And I'd like plugged or like asked AI basically to like do the same thing that I just had written. And I like read it and I was like, oh my God, it's good. And I just burst into tears. I was like, it's over. I'm done. This is it. Like all my work has been for nothing. And then I called Annika crying. And I think
And
her first
just so
reaction
everyone knows, Annika is also my research assistant,
was,
and she's the one who said you need to talk to Chloe.
maybe
So
she'll
when
tell
you
the
get our
story from her perspective. I don't know if she found it funny at first, but I think she was like, "This is what you're crying over, Chloe." I was like, "Yes, it's taken everything that I've ever had and done and loved." And that was, I think, my like, apotheosis, like my big moment of reckoning was then. And I needed to pull myself together a bit. Once I like calmed down, like the next day, I actually read through it again, and it like wasn't that good. Like what I wrote was actually better, but I think I was just really shocked at where
Yeah.
where its capabilities were basically in that moment. I wasn't ready for that. And there were a few phrases that I was like, this is better. Or the framework of this paragraph. Like I know, like, I English major. I feel like I know the intricacies of, what a good sentence structure is, what a good paragraph is. I really pride myself and I enjoy kind of craft. I feel like writing is a craft. And I
Mhm.
noticed some areas where it was more polished than what I had done and put a lot more time into doing. So I think that's what really like got me in the moment. Um, so I think after that, I needed to like grieve and vent and rant and be human about it a bit. But once I was like, okay, it's time to start moving again, I think the first thing I did was like, I need to learn more about AI. Like, I need to get it under my tool belt. Like, it's not something that I can ignore or like puff about or just vent about. Like, I needed to educate myself. And I needed to be able to like master it or like talk back at it a little bit. So that was like, I think my first step. Really. Yeah.
Mhm. And so once you took that step, we'll talk about your current role in a second, but what were the subsequent steps that got you into your first gig?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of things. I mean, first it was so I had to come to peace with what writing meant to me first. Like, I think after that, I realized, there's no point. Personally, I felt like trying to pursue a career in journalism or copywriting. I was like, there's no like logical reason for me to do this because I can write for myself. That was like a big revelation I had to come to because I think when you start reading a lot of AI generated kind of writing, whether it be like cover letters or emails and stuff, you get a second sense about what that AI writing sounds like. It's not at the stage where it can be completely, individual. Um, and so I started to get upset when I would notice like publications that I really respected, in like, I don't hope it's not bad to call out people, but like, I feel like I was reading like CNN style Instagram captions and I was like, these are written by AI.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Like, I could do this better, you know? And so there was a big moment where I had to be like, you know what, I'm gonna write for myself, not with AI, and I'm gonna write for my friends who know I don't use AI. Like I honestly thought of writing a little bit like knitting. Like knitting is something that, it's a craft now. It used to be like something that you needed to do to like, make clothes, but
Mhm.
now we have sewing machines and factories. So if people want to knit and create these bespoke items, it's for the love of the craft and for the people that they know are going to love the homemade mittens that they just got, or like this homemade sweater from your grandma, you know? And I was like, that's what writing's got to be to me. So I think coming to peace with what writing meant for me was like the first big step. And then the second step was, hey, what other careers can I do? Like, what other things can I like leverage my English degree?
Yeah. So once you thought about that, how did you evaluate opportunities that you wanted to apply for, given that kind of new framework in your mind?
I was really looking down kind of like the marketing, brand development, brand partnership route for a while. But I also was just thinking like business development. Like I
Mhm.
really did like what I did in admissions. Like I loved being in front of people and pitching an idea to them in a way that was engaging and fun. And I loved, trying to like win that deal almost, like convince them that this was fun. And then also, I mean, bringing it back a little bit to AI, I was like, I took some courses on AI actually, like leadership initiatives. So I understood what it was. In this like 3 hour kind of lecture series I listened to online, it was like, it broke it down. Like there's actually all these different AIs, like, Copilot versus open, yeah,
Open
ChatGPT and
AI,
all
yeah,
these different things
ChatGPT, Gemini.
and just how to what you use when you want to do deep research versus prompting versus how you create your own AI voice by feeding it your own writing and you can create different folders and
Mhm.
all these different things. I think just learning about it from the bottom up, from like its infancy to now, made me less fearful of it, I would say. So what kind of jobs out there are a bit like high powered, kind of, business oriented. They have like some fun component of marketing in it, maybe a bit of copywriting, but also like I know AI, so I know how to master it. And yeah, that's kind of how I came to my current role, which is at Box Media, which is a wonderful kind of startup based in London.
Yeah.
And again, it was through like networking, which is still very
Oh,
helpful.
networking did end up
But yeah, once I once
important.
I once I got away from the journalists who were like, don't do this, I was like, okay, I'll talk to other people. Um, and yeah, so I met this one of the founders for coffee, and I didn't really go into my qualifications at first, which is very funny. I just talked about me and like what I liked and writing and why I was an English major and all these things. And just through that conversation, she was like, "Hey, why don't you come into the office 3 days a week as an intern, and we'll see how it goes." And so yeah, I interned with them for about 2 months, and then was given a full-time offer, which is
That is fantastic. And so, how did you, as you were going through this, decide that, wow, Box Media could be a really good fit for me?
yeah. I mean, I loved so many things about it, but I think the startup world is actually really exciting right now. I mean, there's a lot of AI startups, like you see them everywhere.
Hmm.
Um, but I think also AI can take the role of a lot of employees that would usually take away from, revenue from a startup. So it's actually exciting when we are a very small team, but I know that the work that I'm doing touches all areas of the business. So, a bit of account management, a bit of product, a bit of, copy, a bit of business development and client outreach. So it's really exciting for me that AI kind of takes the busy work, and then I feel like I'm almost now doing the work of, someone 5 or 6 years ahead of me in their career a little bit because AI is doing all the early tier work, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it's taking some of the operational,
Yeah.
mundaneness and that can be automated. And I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting to think about how many startups are, oh, I have like one or two employees because I have, AI that can really get me going. So I think what you're sharing is happening in so many places. So,
Yeah.
um, what has maybe surprised you the most about the startup world?
That's a great question. I mean, I would really say what surprised me most is how AI really touches every facet of the business. I
Mhm.
mean, I also work in a WeWork. I don't know if you're familiar with WeWorks.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so we're in an open desk layout with all these startups around us.
Hmm.
Everyone has ChatGPT open on the side, which just really shocked me. But also it's exciting because it means that a whole new kind of weird alternative career path is somewhat opened up for me. And my job has become a little bit to imbue all of our writing and content with the human again. So strip back the AI that I've gotten and make it sound unique and personable and like it has some empathy in it, and that's been really fun for me. I would like never thought that I could like make money doing that. It's like a whole new career path that's would not have existed 6 months or like I don't know, a year and 6 months ago.
So this is
uh,
allowing you to still feel like there's a really important role for the human and for
Yeah,
creativity, if
definitely.
that's fair. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, and I also have to thank my like founders and the business model that they believe in that, and that's like a mission of the company that like we want things to sound human and real. And I mean, also I think it there's like a economic incentive as well, like people can tell in the back of their minds when
It
something's
doesn't differentiate when it's AI. It's all very
yeah,
cookie cutter,
exactly,
right? It's
exactly.
very vanilla kind of.
Yeah, and so I'm glad that I think startups are allowed to maybe dip their toes a little bit more in the human, because it's a risk, maybe a little bit like a big corporation just can sound generic and be blah, maybe a little bit. I don't know, but I
Oh,
think
they
it's
still want their own brand
yeah, they
voice.
do.
And AI
Yes.
is not your brand voice, right? AI
Yeah.
is a partner in being a lot more efficient,
Yeah.
but without the human involved on the front end to define what you're looking for, and on the back end,
Yeah.
after like the 2 minutes it takes, or 30 seconds, whatever it is, to really look at it and interrogate it and say, okay, we need to layer back in. It still is like an amazing time saver, but
Yeah.
it is not a set it and forget it, copy and paste situation. It's
Yeah,
manual.
exactly.
It's really not. So I love your story about, well, first of all, I'm very sad about what everyone in journalism told you, because it just makes me sad for journalism. Because we should be, always wanting the next generation to come up, to be trained, to be mentored, and and that's just clearly from several people, that I've talked to, and you can just even follow the news, like that is like a bigger and bigger gap that's not happening, and that's something that
I
we as
know.
a society are going to have to figure out.
I know.
However, it's really inspiring to hear how you kind of went through your stages of grief about that and then figured out how to translate everything that you've learned into something relevant, and also to realize the potential of AI instead of it being a job
Yeah.
killer, which in a way it was, right? Um,
Yeah.
but it's also a job creator for you, in different ways. And so, I think what I'd love to talk about now is a little bit more about your generation, Gen Z.
Yeah.
And in this whole pivot, that you and your peers are having to make, there's a lot of prognostications about Gen Z and what people think about work ethic, and whether y'all want to kind of pay dues and to get ahead. Let me ask you, what do you wish leaders understood about Gen Z,
That's
and
a
and where do you think Gen Z is most misunderstood?
mm, that's a really good question. I would say that I think we have a really unique capacity to be these really creative multitaskers, who are very empowered and motivated to search for the next like big creative, you know, like twist, I would say. Um,
And what does
and
creative twist mean for you?
see, I think we grew up with these huge volatile changes, like even the iPhone coming out. I can remember I was like 6 years old, but I remember my dad bringing it home. And social media, AI, these are a lot of major changes to happen when we're going through our big, developmental like phases. And I think we're like really good at adapting to that in a way that, you hear the older generation sometimes huff and puff about a little bit. And so I think we bring that same energy into whatever kind of work we want to do. Like we want to be ahead of that next creative twist, maybe, if that makes sense.
It
And we're
does.
not afraid, I would say.
Yeah, so you're always waiting for a big thing to drop, because so
Yeah,
many big things
exactly.
have dropped.
Yeah.
But what I hear you saying is we really want to lean into those things.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think a lot of what you've shared in this interview is we're also critically thinking about what those things mean
Mhm.
relative to us. So what if you were just to say, two or three things that you've heard people say about Gen Z that you think is just flat out misunderstood?
Oh gosh. I think the biggest is that we're like just glued to our phones.
Hmm.
Like I don't I think I've seen adults way more glued to their phones at the dinner table than us. Like I think we like love to be in social spaces together and collaborate in person and go to like park runs together, for frisbees together, do bake-offs together. Like I think we're a very sociable generation, and because we're aware of the addictive powers of the phone, like we acknowledge it, we're not trying to fight it, we also know how to like put it away. Like we don't leave it out and about. We don't get a text and we're like, "Whoa, we need to check our phone." Like, and then I think maybe alongside that, I think there's like a reputation that we're extra lazy, maybe. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Um,
questions about work ethic for your generation.
Yeah, I know. I just think that's really funny. I mean, personally, like, I wish I could spend more time in the office, you know? Like, we still are a bit remote, and I'm like, get me in the office. Like, I love that. I love like having, to work hard and like my day, I feel a little bit tired at the end. Like, I think those are things we actually crave and want more of, like that structure. Um, and yeah, I mean, I would say like the amount of rejection letters for jobs that we've all had to like go through as a generation is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that hopefully builds some resilience as well.
Okay. I love that. Um, so let's talk just a little bit more now that you've kind of seen where AI, is helpful and where it needs guidance. As you kind of think forward, let's think forward. I mean, we can't think too far forward because things move way too fast with AI. Let's think
Mhm.
2 years forward.
Mhm.
Where are you seeing hope or even more opportunity with AI?
Hmm. Hmm. That's a really good question. I feel like it can be a wonderful like second guesser to you, and just always make you ask the what if, or like did you think about this kind of perspective, and just like something that's able to present a really holistic picture of a complex problem. I think that's really helpful in work, in life, in school especially. I think it can be like a really, if leveraged well and ethically, it can be a really great learning tool as well.
Yeah.
I know there's some schools that already have like a specific AI that only can ask follow-up questions to like any kind of problem you feed it.
Mhm.
And I think that can be really, really wonderful.
Yeah. I think that's, there's a lot there. But one of the first things that you said, which I think is really important, and I want to ask you this, in order for AI to be a critical thinker, you have to train it not to just compliment you because AI
Yeah.
will just over compliment you and
Yeah.
it's sappy and ridiculous. So in order to get that critical eye, which I think is actually a really good benefit of it, what questions are you asking or how are you training, AI to do that for you where other people might not be, they might like, I like the compliment.
I think I mean I take everything it gives me with a grain of salt, and like I really don't believe if I have to ask a vaguer first question, am anticipating what I'm gonna need to yell at it for, basically. I think is like a really helpful way of doing it. And also I really love like just sourcing, like when it gives like I'm like, give me the sources, cite things. And then when they do, a lot of times it's like, an error and there are no sources there, or they're weird sources or they're fake sources. And so having it try, I mean, I still don't think it's that good at it, honestly. Like, I think I've asked it to give me, I only want sources from, Harvard Business Review, New York Times, Economist, Money, whatever. And it won't do that for me, quite yet. Um, and so I think, yeah, those are ways that I'm really trying to like push it to give me the holistic answer that I want, that I know like a human would be capable of if they had those, answers at their side.
Yeah, and so you see where it's ready for prime time and still not, and how much research and development is still needed, to get it there, and honestly, why humans have to be in the mix.
Yeah, definitely.
Like we are nowhere near AI being able to like run the game board,
Yeah.
not
Who
at
wouldn't
all.
want it
And
to run the game?
no, but when you can get it in the right zone, it can be a very good critical thinking partner.
Yeah,
Yeah. to
100%.
to us. And so it's interesting to play around with. Oh, when I said this to it, it gave me what I wanted, and when I said that, it totally didn't. And
Yeah.
but isn't it an interesting experiment to go through and to be able to do it at your own fingertips and learn
Mhm.
firsthand. Something you said at the very beginning was, oh, when it first came out, that's for software engineers, that's for technical people, that's not for me.
Mhm.
Because our experience leading up to it is anything this technical requires a technical person, to
Um,
be the interface. And this
mhm.
actually kind of changes the game on that. And any of us can interface and kind of learn firsthand the importance of how you code it, how you train it, how you talk to
Mhm.
it, what you want. So maybe we're all getting a little training in what it's like to be a software engineer and how
Mhm.
amazing those people are. Because I think, some of them are wondering, where's my relevance? I think they're
Yeah,
hugely relevant. I
yeah,
think software engineers, which I've spent my career working with some of the best and the brightest, um, want to solve problems.
yeah,
And I think this allows them to get a little bit more hearing from customers because I know firsthand that they desperately want to solve issues. And the more they can hear directly from and maybe leverage AI to do some of the coding work, allows them to actually tie their work more closely to solving a customer pain. So, and then we get the experience of, oh, this is what it's like to actually technically build something. I have a stronger appreciation for that. And I'm probably going to help collaborate with my, software developers in a more, understanding way because now I kind of get it. I
yeah.
get input, I
No,
get
it's
an
so
output,
true.
right? So in some ways, well, there's still, lots of concerns about how AI gets developed. You can tell me what you think of this, but my take on it is, yes, there are concerns. We should voice those concerns, but we have to take action to get
Yeah,
in and train AI around those concerns. Because if we just let it go, then, bad on us,
yeah. No,
right?
it's true. It's true. It's really true.
Yeah.
It's not bad on us.
Um, So is there anything that I have one more question for you, but is there anything we didn't talk about that you think is really important, um, to share with the audience?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, I think the one thing I still am wondering about, honestly, is I have my own experience with AI trying to, get work, start my career. And I'm honestly just wondering how other people are finding it in different professions,
Mhm.
I think. And I wonder if for anyone it's like they've really felt like, oh no, they haven't been able to pivot, or they think, no, the things I really wanted to do are now gone. Um, and yeah, so I don't know if there's anything that you've heard in your kind of journey with learning through this, AI revolution right now. Um, if you think, yeah, where maybe like my experience might veer from most other people's, or I don't know. I'm just wondering a bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's been so I love that you're turning the tables asking me a question. I love this.
I'm just
So
curious. I'm
I
curious
love
myself. I want to
it.
learn.
I love this. Um, what has been really interesting and unexpected
Yeah.
is how much both millennials and Gen Z are who grew up, there's a phrase called a digital native or a digital immigrant. You're a digital native because since birth there's been, technology. Us immigrants, it happened to us somewhere along our career. And so I think there might be an assumption that your generation, millennials, are just ready to go with technology, like just all in,
Mhm.
like you're immersed in it.
Yeah.
It's just what you know. And and there's some real truth to that. Like you just instinctively approach the technology from having grown up with it versus those of us who grew up a different way and then have had to layer it on.
Mhm.
So that's true, but what's refreshing to me and hopeful, honestly, is this critical thinking that I see from our
Mhm.
conversation today. I'm seeing a lot more of that than I expected when I got into this. It says that you're not just going to take the tech for what it is.
Mhm.
You're going to question it. You're going to bring up issues, and that you don't want yourselves to be erased,
Yeah.
the humanness to be erased. And that's not just for your generation, although, entry level positions, I would say, are most impacted, right?
Yeah.
To your point around what's available to you and not, or not as a career path. But I really love this critical pushback,
Mhm.
but in a way where you recognize it's here to stay. And
Yeah.
we got to figure out how to coexist together. But I'm not giving up who I am, and I don't want industries around, across the board to just let AI do the work. So
Yeah.
you're completely counteracting the we're lazy, instead saying no,
Oh, I
we
love.
we don't want it to do everything, and we don't like the generic output, and we don't appreciate that. We don't want that to be our work product.
No,
So
no.
that's been really, like, eye-opening and inspiring, to be honest, for me.
Good.
Yeah. So if you, and you might be, what would you say to someone graduating this year who, might benefit from the things that you went through, and avoid, some of those things, and maybe, um, find maybe a bit earlier success, even though it's
Yeah.
still it takes a long time to find a job today, it really
Oh
does.
my gosh, it takes a long time.
I think this is where AI is actually one of the big downsides of AI is the hiring.
Yeah, that's
I
true,
really
actually.
think that. So what would you say to someone graduating this year about how to go about it?
Gosh, I would say AI is great for the busy work,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, you need to make yourself as distinctive and uniquely you as possible. Like, I would say that's what got me my foot in the door, was just not being afraid of the human to human conversation, which I think I know that my generation, even people a bit young, I mean, I'm a bit old maybe for Gen Z, but younger people, it's like a lot of school happened on Zoom. It's hard to talk to new people, but like, I think now more than ever, if you're like willing to like put the screen down and just get in front of a person and be like, yeah, I'll meet you for coffee. I'll see you in person. I'll talk to my old professor, my old teacher, this colleague, this friend of my friend, this my mother, whatever, all of these people. It's like that's how you set yourself apart. By being willing to have those in-person, tough, awkward human to human conversations, all the things that AI isn't.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would say people who eventually get around to reading some of the applications can tell when it's written by AI,
Mhm.
you know? So use it as a critical thinking buddy, not a crutch,
Yeah.
I would say. And still be creative in your writing
Yeah.
and how you present yourself.
Yeah. Feel good about that.
Yeah.
Use the keywords, but wrap it around your
Yeah.
your own story that you have to tell.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Chloe, this has just been really great, and I congratulate you on working through a very tough pivot and
Okay.
finding your first big opportunity. And I know bigger things are to come, but it's a promising future that you figured out how to navigate for yourself. And so you're to be commended for that. So for everyone listening, as always, this is meant to be a dialogue. Please put in your comments, your questions, your thoughts as you were listening to this conversation so that we can all learn together and share our experiences, because that's what's going to make the difference here in terms of how AI aids and helps us, and how we mitigate against the things that we're concerned about. So, Chloe, thank you again. Maybe we'll have you back on later to see how the career is going down the road.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, thanks again, and everyone will see you on the next episode.